Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Pot Smoker's Bible. My name is Zion. I'm the author of the Pot Smoker's Bible, which contains the prophetic book of Zion, where I get my name and authority. It comes from the Ketuvim, or Tanakh, of the Jewish Testament. We call it the Old Testament of the Christian Bible. I use the King James Version of the Christian Bible to put together the prophecy of Israel from the scattered testimony of the various Old Testament prophets. It became the Book of Zion. I found contained within it a set of instructions that I was uniquely qualified to follow. So I did. And as a final act of prophecy, I'm required to publish peace, which is what I'm doing right now on this YouTube and social media platform. I'm reading to you from the manuscripts of the two books that I have written. Now, the Pot Smoker's Bible I had to write in order to publish the prophecy of Israel, the Book of Zion, because the Book of Zion is written entirely in Bible verse, in the words of the prophets themselves. I'm only the one who put it in order for God and presented it to you in this format. Now, I'm reading to you today from the 26th chapter of Pot Smoker's Bible, which is the commentary and dissertation to the prophecy of Israel, the Book of Zion. And this chapter, in the 26th chapter of the book of the Pot Smoker's Bible, contains the 23rd chapter of the book of Zion. And that chapter is called Behold My Servant, or the Book of Messiah. And I'm going to take up now from where I left off in our last video. The first thing a soul needs to do in any given lifetime is to recognize the moral test. To be faced with a life lesson and to recognize it as such, that is the first step of ascension. If you face a question that has moral implications, you are deciding your own fate with your answer. To know this is to ascend. Kenny failed his Judy covetousness test. He failed to understand that he was facing a life lesson test, so he went on forwardly in the way of his heart. He had given the wrong answer, but that was his choice to make. But I also had choices to make. I chose to ascend. I was faced with a moral test. I recognized its moral issues. I made the right choice. I gave the right answer, so I advanced. I chose to be a force for good. I chose to face the pain and overcome the damage others had done to me. I chose to do the good deeds. I chose to devote my life to the cause of others. I chose to ascend. When I reached the end of my endurance, when suicide was the only answer I could conceive, I again chose to make the right decision. I chose to beg for mercy. I begged to die rather than to end my life. I tried to kill myself twice. The first time, the gray stopped me by force. The second time, Kenny took control of my body to prevent the blade from cutting me. Each time I had failed my test to endure, but my obedience to the higher power let me pass the overall test and live. I no longer face the moral testing. I have found inner peace. My life is given to Zion. I know what to do to fulfill prophecy. I am teaching it to you now. The very few humans reach the point in life where they have learned their life lessons and are still able to live, to enjoy it. Those few who have advanced completely are the sages and saints that lead others to the path of ascension. We have each struggled through not just the lessons we were preset to learn, but we have gone on through projected lessons that were preset for future incarnations. All can ascend in a single lifetime, but few try. Even fewer succeed. When I chose to kill myself rather than to descend or endure my force, uh, or endure, I forced the gray to act because Kenny was my soulmate. Only he could safely occupy my body over an extended period of time because our energy wavelength matched. Only by necessity did the gray use Kenny against his will. What they, in essence, did was force Kenny back on the path of ascension. I had gone as far as I could without him. The gray had taken Kenny's vow of ownership of me as consent. He had pledged to me, so they felt justified for forcing him to keep his vow to me, a vow he had made of his own free will on my brother's wedding night. So they had reason to believe that Kenny cared deeply for me, and that his vow was the reason for my suicide attempt. This, of course, made Kenny's refusal to do as they asked a cause of contention between them. They had asked him to divorce Judy and save my life. He refused. So they did the next best thing. They forced him to live with the consequences of his decisions. He was linked to me mentally, so that he would know my suffering due to that choice of his. As long as he chose to stay away from me physically, he would have to deal with it mentally. He caused my pain, so he would be forced to endure it mentally. He didn't understand the ramifications of his choices. When he made me his vow of lifelong unity, that I would be his, he saved my life. When he chose to leave me in Louisiana, he condemned me to a life of pain. When he married Judy, he made my life a living hell. When I tried to kill myself, he became my tormentor. But he never thought about what those choices of his forced on me. So, for the past 30 years, Kenny has been forced to experience what his choices regarding me have done to me. He has had to make moral choices regarding my life. And each moral choice he has made has played out in my life, which he has witnessed through his dreams. But he has yet to realize the nature of this mental link. He hasn't yet taken the first step of ascension on his own. He hasn't desired to advance spiritually. He is an ordinary man who loves an ordinary life, but he leads a secret life in his mind, a life he has hated, a life he doesn't want to live, a life he doesn't understand. When he takes that first step and he chooses to correct his mistake, then he will seek the gray and do what is morally correct, the right answer. I ask only that he give me the same chance I gave him. I only ask, Kenny, be you dead or alive, will you go out with me just on a date? No expectations, no desired outcome other than, hey, I'm really attracted to you. So let's see where this will go. That's all I have the right to ask. That's all anyone has the right to ask. Which brings us to Isaiah 57:18. I have seen his ways and will heal him. I will lead him also and restore comforts to him and to his mourners. I believe that this verse is talking about Kenny having cancer twice. He was healed the first time, but according to Mike, my friend, he died the second or third time. Too afraid to verify, or at least I was at that point. Kenny is my one and only weakness. I'd rather believe he's dead than to know it for a fact. So, according to Isaiah, Kenny should still be alive, having been healed by the grave. Once Kenny is healed, he was to have his comforts restored so that he wouldn't suffer or be unable to provide. His mourners are, I believe, in reference to Zion, our people mourn because of the persecution. They are his mourners when he chooses Zion. When I wrote this, there was no COVID-19. So I had no idea that the mourners would be the mourning the deaths of the pandemic. When they asked him to help me, they asked him to not only prevent me from ending my life, but also to help me change the world. He was and has been overwhelmed at the thought of becoming a world figure who is Messiah. I too was in awe when I contemplated Zion. Now he must ask them for the right to fulfill their request. He rejected me. He rejected them. So we have all been waiting for Kenny to begin. Once Kenny decides to become Messiah, he will already have the right answers. He has been learning them for 30 years, so he will quickly advance in spiritual understanding. I have spent those 30 years preparing to actualize the prophecy, making us both Zion and Messiah, prophets of the gray. He will be Messiah when he chooses to be. 57:19. I create the fruit of the lips. Peace, peace to him that is far off, and to him that is near, saith the Lord, and I will heal him. So, by this following verse, we have the second healing. Peace is declared. The fruit of the lips, the words we speak and vow, are created by God. God and God, what God 3 creates in spoken form, is the matrix of reality. The healing, the peace, and the spoken word are bound. All reality stems from the word G3 spoken. This is a magic formula. We speak with our lips. This defines it as vocal speech, as opposed to telepathic speech. The vows are spells. We invoke the 3 powers of God, the physical lips, the intent of the emotion in the God and Goddess, and the finality of the thought form. To speak a vow is to bind it into the matrix of reality. When Kenny said as long as, it became a finality, a condition of time. You bear this scar, anchoring it as a physical object. You belong to me, the definite condition of the vow. I am bound by his ownership until I either die or until I break the vow. Because a vow is a binding between 2 or more things, a spell. Because I had begun to ascend spiritually, I was bound by the vow as my right to ascend. He was the anchor of my vow. I had cast a spell of my own. My lips spoke the words. God, if you will heal me and find me someone who I can truly love, I will dedicate my life to helping you end the pain and suffering of others. Kenny was the one chosen for me to love. God's named part of the bargain. And there I'm going to end for today. So, may the Grey watch over you, guide you, protect you, and keep you from all harm. May they teach you right from wrong, and may you be worthy of them. May your thoughts, words, and deeds reflect truth, good, and light, the unicorn way. Find your joy and pursue it. Make that your guild choice when we get to Camp Zion. If you use drugs, stay happy and high. You have every right and reason to. Believe me, I know. I wrote 2 books about him. Peace. Love you. I'll never say goodbye. So I'm going to say later now.